Hi everyone, welcome to today's full body yin yoga class. In today's practice, we will be exploring the use of props to support us as we ease into long duration held asanas to create space and reconnect with our inner peace and well-being. If you don't have props, you can absolutely practice along with this class, although some of the postures may prove to be a little bit more demanding. When you're ready, grab one or two blocks, and we're going to come into a supported variation of Garland's pose Malasana, placing a block or two underneath the sits bones, spreading the knees wide, joining the palms together at heart center, and allowing the triceps and the elbows to press into the inner thighs to help open up the hips, to help open up the groin, grounding down through the heels, beginning to tune into the breath. Noticing any sensations that might be present within the body. Perhaps there are some mental narratives that you are continuously repeating. Maybe it's going by unnoticed. Whatever arises, know that that is okay. If you notice nothing at all, that is great as well. And gently guide your awareness to the breath. Taking 3 more mindful breaths in Garland's pose. Either staying here or coming into a chest opener, extending the arms out wide on a diagonal, and perhaps interlacing the fingers together behind the back, broadening across the heart space, gazing up. Doing your best to keep the hips centered on the block, noticing if the body begins to splay to one side. One more breath. Re-extend the arms, join the palms together at heart center, one breath here. And taking the bind on the other side. We are inviting some gentle movement into various regions of the body before we get into some long-held postures. Seeing if you can soften the shoulders, unclench the jaw, breathe. Returning to center, palms at heart center. Exhale, lower the right ear towards the right shoulder, feeling a beautiful stretch along the left side of the neck. And maybe taking a half circle in one direction and the other. Pausing anywhere that feels a little interesting. Setting up for our first yin yoga posture, we'll come into Uttanapristhasana lizard pose. So we're going to be using the block on the highest support level, placing it to the side for a moment, coming into a tabletop position, tenting up onto the fingertips, and guiding the right foot towards the outer edge of the right wrist, and mindfully guiding the block underneath the fleshy portion of the thigh, the glutes on the right hand side. If you'd like a little more support, you can take your second block and have it directly underneath your left shoulder, just so that you can relax your left arm whilst being supported. The right knee is in line with the ankle. The knee and the right foot are tracking forwards. Grounding down through the left knee, the shin, the toes are pointed to the back of the mat. Relaxing the shoulders, slightly broadening across the heart space. Gently tucking the chin towards the chest to lengthen the back of the neck. Maybe closing the eyes. Beginning to settle into this posture. Really allowing yourself to soften. Noticing the sensations going on around the left hip flexors. Perhaps the outer glutes on the right hand side. Giving yourself permission to completely embody your own unique experience. If your mind had begun to wander, mindfully guiding your awareness to the physical body, gifting yourself one more loving breath in supported lizard pose. And from here, raising the hips, gently removing the block from underneath the right sits bone, transitioning into a low supported variation of lizard pose. This time placing the blocks underneath the forearms, elbows are in line with the shoulders, allowing the right hip to externally rotate slightly. You might like to open the knee out to the side and roll onto the blade edge of that right foot. Keeping the back leg aligned with the hip, it might feel supportive to join the palms together. If you have the mobility, you might prefer to remove the blocks altogether and simply rest your forearms on the earth. Find what feels good. Allow the breath to guide you in this posture. offering yourself one more breath in this low supported lizard pose. Mindfully extending the arms, moving the blocks to the edge of the mat for a moment, and we'll set up for supported pigeon pose, guiding the right ankle towards the left wrist and placing the right knee behind the right wrist. You might like to have the blocks on the highest support system out in front, helping you stay elevated, or again resting the forearms on the blocks. If you have the range of motion, you might like to get your right shin parallel with the short edge of the mat. And if this is proving at all uncomfortable or painful, you might like to guide the right heel towards the left hip bone to decrease the intensity of this stretch. Noticing the sensations around the piriformis, the glute muscles, the outer hips on the right hand side. Breathe. Gifting yourself one more breath in this supported pigeon pose. If you're on your forearms, placing the palms underneath the shoulders, re-extending the arms, mindfully placing the blocks to the edges of the mat, grounding down through the palms, stepping back into a tabletop position, perhaps moving out the hips, and in your own time settling into Balasana, child's pose, extending the arms out in front, either resting the forehead on the mat or resting your forehead on a block. Feeling a beautiful opening in the hips, the lower back, the mid-back. Breathe. From child's pose, mindfully working your way upright to a seated position, taking as much space and time as you would like. From here, getting set up for our supported lizard variation 1, tenting up onto the fingertips, guiding the left knee to the chest, placing the left foot down in front of you underneath the left knee, and using the block on the highest support system and placing it underneath the left glutes. Hips are squared, perhaps using the other block to support your right arm, assuming a dignified yet relaxed posture. Letting go. Feel yourself surrendering to this posture, to this moment. Returning your awareness to this posture, taking one more breath here. And when you're ready, mindfully removing the block from underneath the sits bone, guiding it to the side, and we'll set up for a low supported lizard pose, Uttanapristhasana. This time externally rotating the left hip, allowing the left foot and the left knee to splay out to the side, ensuring that the left knee and the left big toe are tracking in the same direction. Perhaps resting your forearms on the blocks or lowering down altogether. Breathe. Offering yourself 2 more breaths in this supported lizard pose. If you're on your forearms, placing the palms under the shoulders, re-extending the arms, placing the blocks to the side as we set up for supported pigeon, this time guiding the left heel over to the right wrist. and taking a variation that is conducive with your energy levels for today. Gently and lovingly reminding yourself that each day brings us new experiences and new opportunities. So if you've practiced this posture before and it feels a little different today, know that that is okay. See if you can create space to be with your experience. No judgment, no criticism, just acceptance. Two more loving breaths in this supported pigeon pose, guiding your breath to the regions where you are feeling sensation. Maybe noticing what it might feel like to invite a smile onto your lips. perhaps inviting a little bit of playfulness into this experience. When you're ready, mindfully releasing from pigeon pose, coming up to a tabletop position, shaking out the hips if that feels nice, and returning to child's pose for a few breaths, closing the eyes, returning inwards. Mindfully rolling up to tabletop position, and we'll set up for supported splits, Hanumanasana. We'll be using 2 blocks here. If this pose is inaccessible, you're more than welcome to adopt a posture of your own, practice any of the previous postures. And we'll be placing 2 blocks underneath our right glute, underneath the upper thigh, keeping the hips squared, keeping both feet flexed, lengthening the torso, relaxing the shoulders. And if that's feeling okay, you might like to remove one of the blocks if you have the flexibility in the hamstrings. If you have a second block available, you might like to place it underneath your left shoulder, allowing your left palm to gently rest atop of the block. It might feel better on the right hand side. Really lean into your own experience, allowing yourself to soften, noticing the sensations around the underside of that right leg, the left hip flexors. You might be feeling a tremendous stretch here, so really be compassionate. Give yourself the space and the time to ease into this posture. And when you're ready, finding stillness. Gently guiding your awareness to this posture, to the physical sensations. Noticing where the mind is. Seeing if you can guide your awareness to the breath. Gifting yourself one more breath in supported Hanumanasana. And from here, very gently placing the palms down on the earth, rebending that right leg, coming up to a tabletop position. And we'll set up for supported Hanumanasana on the left-hand side. If possible, taking the same variation that you took on the other side to really create a state of harmony and equilibrium within the body. If you have limited range of motion in the hamstrings, it might be helpful to bend the front knee and ground down through the heel of that left foot, perhaps the entire foot. Beginning to soften, maybe closing the eyes and letting go. One more mindful breath in supported Hanumanasana. And ever so gently and lovingly guiding yourself out of this posture, taking as much space and time as you like, taking any organic movement that feels nourishing. And from here, we are going to set up for supported fish pose. So, placing 2 blocks at the head of the mat. One block is going to be horizontal to rest your head atop of, and the other block is going to be vertical, and we're going to place it in between the shoulder blades. Really playing around with the adjustment. It might feel a little uncomfortable to begin with, so knowing that you can always adjust the positioning until you find that sweet spot. If you have a strap handy, you might like to place it on top of your eyes just to help you return inwards, knowing that there's no temptation to open the eyes and see what's going on around you. It might be nice to extend the legs, having a slight internal rotation of the hips, allowing the big toes to rest against one another. Perhaps cactusing the arms out wide, elbows at shoulder height, palms facing skywards. If that's at all uncomfortable for your shoulder blades, you might like to extend the arms the length of the body, or alternatively find a positioning that is conducive with where you're at today. Noticing the expansion around the heart space, using this newfound space to release any tension, offering yourself this occasion to be well, to rest in an abode of tranquility and serenity, letting go. guiding your awareness to this posture, offering yourself a few more loving breaths. Sometimes it's in these last few moments when we know that the posture is coming to a close that we can truly give ourselves the space to open up and to surrender. Know that that is okay, recognizing that it is a practice. If you had a strap over your eyes, mindfully removing that, placing that to the side of the mat, re-bending the knees, placing the soles of the feet down on the earth, returning the arms the length of the body, and grounding down through the palms, the elbows, the forearms to help support you upright. Placing the blocks to the side, and from here we will roll down onto our backs one vertebra at a time, using abdominal strength to lower down. And from here, grabbing one block, elevating the hips slightly, raising the pelvis, and we're going to place a block underneath the sacral region of the spine. You can play around with the variation of the height that you'd like. From here, raising both legs skywards as we come into supported waterfall pose, Viparita Karani. This is a beautiful posture to end your day with. A really great way to allow the circulation to flow in the opposite direction than it otherwise would when we're upright. If possible, getting your ankles, your knees, and your hips all aligned. It might feel nice to gently sway the pelvis from side to side, creating a massage for the lower back. And when you're ready, finding stillness. Again, it might feel nice to place the strap over your eyes. Offering yourself a few more mindful breaths in supported waterfall pose. And ever so gently bending the knees towards the chest, returning both soles of the feet down onto the earth. And we'll come into supported Pavamuktanasana, wind relieving posture. So guiding one knee towards the chest, extending the other leg, grounding down through the heel of the leg that's extended. Toes and kneecap are facing skywards. Gently interlacing your fingers around the shin of the leg that is bent. Feeling a beautiful release for the hip flexors. Guiding your breath to this region of the body. Slowing down. One more loving breath in supported Pavamuktanasana on this side. Mindfully bending both knees, returning the soles of the feet to the earth, and we'll take this stretch on the other side, finding any variation that feels nourishing. And if having the supported leg extended is too much for you, you're more than welcome to keep that knee bent and have the sole of the foot resting down on the earth with the knee facing skywards. See what feels good for you. One more breath in supported wind relieving posture. And gently bending both knees, returning the soles of the feet to the earth. And this time we'll extend both legs out, coming into a supported variation of bridge pose, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Again, keeping the block around the sacral region of the spine. Feeling a beautiful opening for the front of the hips, allowing the shoulders to melt into the earth, allowing the hips to externally rotate slightly, so having the feet facing outwards, heels in, toes out, and slowing down. A few more breaths in this supported bridge pose. When you're ready, gently bending both knees, returning the soles of the feet to the earth, raising the hips and placing the block to the side, rolling the back down one vertebra at a time. It might feel nice to draw the knees to the chest, finding some circles in each direction, perhaps interlacing the fingers around the shins. And today we will close practice in Supta Baddha Konasana, supine bound angle or butterfly pose. We are going to place blocks under the outer edges of the thighs and the knees, soles of the feet together, knees splay wide, finding a beautiful opening for the hips, the groin, maybe feeling it in the glutes as well. If possible, seeing if you can relax the body completely and simply rest in the awareness of the breath. Become one with the breath and detach yourself from any unwholesome experiences and let go entirely. If the mind had begun to wander, mindfully guiding your awareness to the experiences of this posture. I invite you to pause the video here and stay in butterfly pose for as long as you like. And if you would like to close practice in this moment, giving yourself the space to recognize the courage that you demonstrated showing up today to nourish the mind, the body, and the soul. May you experience true peace and joy. Thank you so much for today. Namaste.